I just wonder, sincerely wonder, do you hear how hollow your last words sound in light of the pardon of all of the January 6th people?
There is a number that explains everything you need to know about what happened in that hearing room. $115,000. That is what the government of Qatar paid Pam Bondi every single month while she worked as their registered foreign lobbyist at Ballard Partners. Not a one-time consulting fee. Not a speaking honorarium. A monthly retainer paid by a foreign government to advocate for their interests in the United States. That same Pam Bondi is now the Attorney General of the United States. And when Qatar announced it was gifting the president a $400 million luxury jet, the single largest foreign gift in American history, it was Bondi's Office of Legal Counsel that reviewed the transaction and declared it legally permissible. She did not recuse herself. When asked under oath whether she had, she refused to answer. That refusal is the story, not the jet, not the lobbying contract. The refusal. Representative Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania came to that hearing with documentation, not allegations, not political talking points, public records. The Foreign Agents Registration Act requires anyone who lobbies on behalf of a foreign government to file formal disclosure documents. Bondi filed them. They are public record. She was a registered foreign agent for Qatar. That registration was not included in her Senate confirmation documents. Dean asked her directly, "Did you disclose your registration as a foreign agent to the Senate during your confirmation?" The answer, confirmed in that hearing room, was no. Bondi's defense was that the role was discussed at her confirmation hearings. Discussed is not the same as disclosed. A conversation is not a filing. The FARA registration existed. The confirmation documents did not contain it. That is a factual gap that no amount of rhetorical flexibility can close. The Qatar lobbying portfolio is the next piece, because Bondi's characterization of it does not match the public record. Her position, stated under oath, is that her work for Qatar was limited to anti-human trafficking efforts in connection with the 2022 World Cup. The registered scope of her work at Ballard Partners was broader than that. Foreign government lobbying contracts are not filed under charitable purpose designations. They are filed under advocacy for the interests of a foreign principal. Qatar had interests far beyond human trafficking during that period. Labor reform pressure, international investment relationships, regional diplomatic positioning. The $115,000 monthly retainer was not calibrated to the scope of a narrow human trafficking initiative. It was calibrated to the scope of a government that needed its interests represented at the highest levels of American political access. Now stay with me, because the jet is where the conflict of interest stops being technical and starts being visible. Qatar announced the gift of a Boeing 747-8, currently valued at a minimum of $200 million, potentially significantly more, to President Trump. The announcement came with a legal problem immediately apparent to anyone who has read Article 1 of the Constitution. The Emoluments Clause prohibits federal officials from accepting gifts from foreign governments without the consent of Congress. Congress has not consented. The workaround being reportedly developed involves transferring the aircraft to Trump's presidential library after he leaves office, using a nonprofit structure to create legal distance between the gift and the constitutional prohibition. Bondi's Office of Legal Counsel reviewed this arrangement and, according to testimony, provided guidance that it was legally permissible. When Dean asked whether Bondi had recused herself from that review given her prior financial relationship with Qatar, the government giving the gift, Bondi refused to answer on the grounds of executive privilege over legal advice to the president. She would not confirm or deny recusal. The standard ethical requirement for any attorney with a prior financial relationship to a party is recusal from matters involving that party. It is not discretionary. It is the baseline. And the Attorney General of the United States would not state on the record whether she had met it. According to unverified accounts from sources familiar with the OLC review process, The legal opinion approving the jet acceptance was expedited through a condensed review period that did not include the standard interagency ethics consultation that would normally apply to a transaction involving a former foreign government client of a reviewing official. These accounts have not been confirmed. What is confirmed is that the review happened, the opinion was issued, and the official with the most direct prior financial connection to the gifting government will not confirm she removed herself from the process. The stock transaction on April 2, 2025 adds a dimension that Dean raised and that has not received adequate attention in the broader coverage of this hearing. On that specific date, President Trump announced a tariff policy that immediately moved markets. On that same day, Bondi sold between $1 and $5 million worth of shares in Trump Media and Technology Group. The stock subsequently fell approximately 30% following the tariff announcement. The trade, if executed before the market reaction to the announcement, would have represented a significant financial benefit from information about an imminent presidential action. Bondi's defense was that she lost money because the stock continued to fall after the sale. That defense does not address the timing question. The question is not whether she profited ultimately. The question is what she knew, when she knew it, and whether a cabinet official trading in the president's personal stock on the same day the president announces a major market-moving policy requires scrutiny. The answer to the last part of that question is unambiguously yes. The January 6th question was the opening of the hearing, and it set the tone for everything that followed. A member asked Bondi directly, "What advice did you offer the president regarding the blanket pardon of every January 6th participant on his first day in office?" Bondi's response was that she would never discuss advice she had or had not given to the president. The framing is important. She did not say she gave no advice. She said she would not discuss it. That is a choice to invoke a privilege rather than a denial. 5 Capitol Police officers who were present on January 6th are dead. The administration pardoned every person convicted in connection with the attack on the day it took office. The nation's top law enforcement officer will not say whether she had any role in that decision. The budget numbers that emerged from this hearing are the institutional consequence that extends beyond any individual transaction. The Department of Justice under Bondi is proposing a budget for fiscal year 2026 that would eliminate 5,000 positions, cut the ATF by 26%, and reduce drug trafficking enforcement by 34%. This is the department that is simultaneously claiming to have pending investigations into Epstein co-conspirators, conducting non-citizen voting prosecutions, managing immigration court backlogs, and reviewing the largest foreign gift in American presidential history. The resources required to do those things honestly are being systematically removed from the institution. That is not an accident. You do not accidentally cut 34% of your drug trafficking capacity while claiming to be the toughest law enforcement administration in history. You do it when enforcement is not the actual priority. Dean's line, that the 3 hallmarks of this administration are incompetence, corruption, and cruelty, landed in the record not as a political slogan, but as a structural argument. Each category has a specific evidentiary basis in this hearing alone. The Qatar non-disclosure is documented. The jet recusal question is unanswered. The stock trade timing is on record. The January 6th advice is unaddressed. The budget cuts are proposed. None of this is speculation. All of it is in the congressional record, attached to sworn testimony from the Attorney General of the United States. The Florida Bar is reportedly considering professional misconduct proceedings related to Bondi's conduct. The House Oversight Committee has issued subpoenas regarding the Epstein file handling. The Senate Judiciary Committee has authority to investigate the FARA non-disclosure. These are the institutional mechanisms that exist precisely for moments like this one. They move slowly. They can be blocked. They can be defunded. But the record of this hearing does not move, and it cannot be defunded. The $115,000 monthly retainer is in it. The non-disclosure is in it. The refusal to confirm recusal is in it. The stock trade date is in it. The people who refuse to answer the simple questions in that room are counting on the complexity of the issues to make you look away. The issues are not actually complex. A lobbyist for a foreign government became the Attorney General and then approved a $400 million gift from that same foreign government without confirming she removed herself from the review. That is one sentence. It does not require a law degree.